And my ex-husband had ended up stealing money from a bank that he worked for.
Hello, and welcome to Crazy Amazing God Stories, where everyday people share extraordinary moments of God revealing His power, grace, and love in our everyday lives. We've all heard the phrase, life is hard, then you die. Some of us know it better than others. In Joseph's story in Genesis, he was betrayed by his brothers, then enslaved, then imprisoned, yet God had bigger plans for him. In Matthew, it says, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." So Jesus knows about our weariness. He knows about our tragedies, and he offers spiritual rest. He didn't say, "Follow me and life will be easy," but he did say, "Follow me." Some of you already know the hardships of life are much more difficult to navigate without him. If you don't know Jesus, it's much more difficult. In fact, they're downright miserable. My guest today spent half of her life going from tragedy to tragedy, angry at God, until one amazing moment, God brought her to her knees, reminding us that it's never too late to turn to him. Please welcome to the podcast, Jessica Smith. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you.
So, did I get anything wrong?
Nope.
Okay, well.
It was a good beginning.
Yeah, well, I mean, your story is compelling. I got to be honest with you. Like I told you earlier, we talked on the phone. You told me your story. It consumed my day. It's a beautiful story, although it's a terrible story. Mm-hmm. Terrible story. But before we get started on that, let's tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me, who you are. Tell me about your family. Who are you?
All right. So I'm Jessica Smith. I'm 50 years old. And I am married. I've been married for close to 18 years. It'll be 19 years on January 21st. I am a nurse by background, and I work for a home infusion pharmacy. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and grew up in Phoenix. I'm a Phoenician, which is not very common. And I have 4 children. I have 1 stepson. That's my son. That's my husband's. And then I have 3 biological children that are mine, all adult children, and 3 amazing grandchildren.
Oh, I'm jealous. I am dying for grandbabies, but just doesn't seem to be happening for me.
It honestly is better than having kids.
That's what everybody tells me. I'm all about it.
It truly is. My husband will say stuff like, "Is it bad that I feel like I love my grandkids more than the kids?" I'm like, it's a different love. He's like, "Yes, very much so."
Well, it's got to be a different dynamic for sure. I mean, I guess the number one thing people say is, well, they get to leave.
Right. You get to just love them, and you don't have to be the disciplinarian and worry about all that stuff that comes with parenting. And you just get to cuddle them, love them, and spoil them.
Get them all riled up, give them a bunch of sugar, and send them home.
Absolutely.
Love it. So what kind of nurse are you?
So I'm a home infusion nurse. I'm actually the chief quality officer of a home infusion company.
A home infusion nurse. That sounds very scientific and modern. What does that mean?
So we pretty much run a hospital out of patients' homes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So patients that need TPN, antibiotics, if they are in the hospital, instead of them having to stay in the hospital for 6 weeks for antibiotics, we will actually compound it in our pharmacy. And then we have nurses that show patients how to infuse it and then take care of their central line once a week and just assess them, make sure that they're doing good.
Wow. Do you get to carry that black case that they used to carry back in the days?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's jump right in. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and you just tell us what happened. So okay. My first question is, tell me a little bit about what happened when you were really young.
Well, when I was very young, I think I was in the 1st or 2nd grade. This was kind of a defining moment of my relationship with God. I had stayed over at my aunt's house, and I was lit on fire. It was a huge fire that was in their house, and 2 of my little cousins actually ended up passing away from that fire. And Early.
And you were what, 6 or 7?
I think, yeah, I was 6 or 7. I was in the first grade. So I think I was 7.
Did you get hurt?
I did. My foot got hurt a little bit, but I will say my cousin Tate, he pushed the window open to get where us kids could get out. And then our foot, like his arm got cut up from the window. And then my foot got cut from the window too.
Wow, that's tragic. Do you know how the fire started?
From the dryer, it was a gas dryer. And my cousin ended up going in and putting her towel in, and they didn't realize that there was a leak. So it's important always to, maintenance your dryers.
Wow.
And so it started the family room on fire, and then it progressed into the house. And
2 of your cousins died.
They did.
How old were they?
They were, I think, 1 and 3.
Oh, so there's
they were little babies.
Tragedy.
Yeah, we were kind of lined up, getting ready to go out the window, and the babies got scared and went underneath the waterbed. And my aunt went back to get them, but she ended up passing out. And a neighbor there was actually a newspaper article that talked about this neighbor who was an angel that saved my aunt, but he ended up getting her. But then the babies ended up not making it out until later, and by the time that they had gone to the hospital, they did not make it.
Did both your aunt and uncle make it?
They did. And they also, 2 of my other cousins, male cousins, and 2 of my boy cousins. And then one of my, the oldest cousin, girl cousin, made it out. So we got to the hospital, and we went to a different hospital. I think the babies went to Maricopa County, the burn center. And we went to a different hospital. I don't remember what hospital it was. I was little. And so we were in the hospital room with them, and they called my aunt and uncle and had said that the babies didn't make it. And I just remember my uncle had thrown the phone across the window, and my cousin started throwing up in the sink. And it was pretty traumatic for our family.
Well, that's not a good reaction in front of little kids.
No, he was definitely not in his right mind. Not that anybody could be, but he was a different, he was in turmoil, let's just say. I'd say spiritually sick.
Yep, that's a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move forward in your life. That's obviously a major first tragedy, being young, and you said that kind of defined your relationship with God. What did you mean by that?
So what happened is my cousins ended up going in the ambulance with my aunt. All the kids went with them, and then I had to go with my uncle. And my uncle never really felt safe, even as a kid. I would just remember feeling like an icky vibe from him. And so when I went in the ambulance with him, I just remember having this feeling that I have to protect myself, and I don't need anybody, and I am self-sufficient and not part of, like, it kind of, I just remember that feeling. I've done a lot of therapy over the years. So with that memory, that's the feeling that comes along with it.
So your scars were more mental than they were physical.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And honestly, it was almost like watching a movie. A lot of years I was very detached from what happened until I started having kids myself. And then I realized that, like, my aunt lost her 2 children on the same day.
Wow.
And like my cousin lost her sisters. And, it really was a very traumatic experience for our family.
It's a very traumatic experience.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward in your life. What happened to you in the 8th grade?
So when I was in the 8th, actually a little bit before that, my dad actually had gotten cancer too. Oh. Soon after the fire, my dad had gotten cancer. And then I got really sick when I was in the 8th grade with pneumonia. I had staph pneumonia. I was in the hospital for like over a month. And at that time, I was in 8th grade, and that's supposed to be like the senior year of grade school,
Yeah,
so there was a lot of really great things that were happening. And we ended up, my parents did the very best that they could to keep my spirits up. It was over Christmas time. They even bought a Christmas tree and brought it in for me. And I will say I learned a lot, even at the age of being in 8th grade. I learned that I wanted to be a nurse. That actually is what placed being a nurse in my heart. There was a nurse there that got an IV in like the first time because I was a really hard stick. And so there was a nurse that ended up getting it the first time, was very patient and loving with me. And
hard stick, that's nurse lingo, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's so if a patient, their IVs are not easy to place an IV.
Find a vein.
Yeah, to find a vein. So Yep. And so when she did that, though, and she was able to get the IV in very easy, and she was very patient and made me feel very comfortable and cared for me, which was a big deal.
Especially after your first experience with the hospital.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. I never really, my only experience with the hospital, besides my mom having my younger sisters and stuff.
Those are good experiences, though.
Those are good experiences. So I never have really appreciated wanting to go to the hospital or even go to the doctors. Even today, I don't really care for that.
So that nurse, you're a home nurse. So that nurse really hit you at a certain impressionable time of your life, when you're 13-ish, probably.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, and she was good to you.
She was really good to me. And I honestly, at that moment, realized that I wanted to be a nurse.
13.
At 13.
Well, so few people know what they want at that age. So some people are, in their fourth year of college, and they're still not sure what they're going to do.
Yeah, no, it was just like God just placed it on my heart at that young of age that I wanted to impact people's lives like she had impacted mine.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I wish I had that kind of guidance when I was younger. I was reckless, but whatever. So tell me a little bit about your mom and dad.
So my mom and dad, very, very loving, super fun parents. I really knew how much I was loved as a kid. We were their life. At the same time, there was quite a bit of dysfunction in my home. My dad was a very high functioning heroin addict, which sounds funny because you don't really put those two sentences together.
Seems like an oxymoron.
It absolutely does. And saying it feels like an oxymoron as well, but I
bet it happens more than we think, though. That's what high functioning means, right?
Absolutely. You'd be surprised.
Right.
You'd be surprised. My mom was very loving too, hard worker, really good work ethic. She kept our house going for many, many years. As my dad was more of the partier and a gambler, and was a lot of fun. He was never mean or anything like that, but he definitely liked to party, and partying and gambling was definitely a priority for him.
Was he a gambling addict as well?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I bet that wasn't easy on the family finances.
It was not. It was not easy on my mom either. I know, knowing my dad in his heart today, it's not that he wanted to be that person. It's that he had a sickness.
Well, yeah, that's what addiction is.
So, but at the time, I didn't know that. Obviously, I took it and personally that it was about people maybe not loving me or not being important in their life.
So, was there a time where he got off of the drugs, or was he an addict your whole life, or how'd that work?
So when I was soon after I graduated high school, I think it was not high school, but grade school. I think it was my freshman year to sophomore year. He had gotten sober when I was in the 7th grade. He was sober for about 2 years. And then
so you were, in your mind, you were over that
period of life.
Okay.
We went to some therapy. We learned our roles in the family. We also learned that there's a potential we could become addicts because it's hereditary. If we smoke weed, there's a possibility we'd be an addict. And then we also learned that if someone is doing drugs, that it's important to tell people, because if they don't, if you don't tell them, then they could overdose and die. I mean, this was back with... So
you learned all the things that they told us. I mean, back then, I think the information was not the same as it is now. But
absolutely, it wasn't. It was more just say no to drugs, and Nancy Reagan and the
Michael Jordan coming on the TV and saying, "Just stop it.
Just stop. Just stop.
Just stop."
So
was that the end of his drug experience?
So he ended up relapsing after he was a couple of years sober. And my mom, actually, I was probably about 14 years old, and my mom had mentioned, "I think your dad is using again." And I'm like, "No way, he loves us way too much. He wouldn't do that to us." And a week after, my mom was very intuitive, I'm sure, but a week after he had come home, I was home, and I had gone in his drawer to get a razor, which tells me I didn't have good boundaries at that age, but had found a pit of heroin and a syringe and a spoon in his drawer. So I knew at that moment that my dad was doing drugs again. And it was one of those, again, life experiences that really started to write my story, honestly.
Break your heart a little bit?
Yeah. Really have loss of faith, more loss of faith.
Trust.
Trust, and someone who's supposed to be that role model for you, not knowing that it was a disease because of a 14-year-old person as a child is not going to understand that. So
you just truly believed he was doing this, and then all of a sudden you find out.
Yep. And I even remember defending, I mean, I was a daddy's girl too, to a degree. I mean, my mom is a beautiful human, but at the same time, I was like, there's no way he's not doing it. We got in a big fight about it actually. And then he had come home, I found it. And I was not a kid that was real disrespectful. I was a pretty good kid. And my dad had come home and I threw it on the table and I was like, what the F is this? You said you would never use again. And
so you confronted him.
I did.
Before you talked to your mom.
I did.
Oh, you are.
I'm pretty strong-willed.
That's pretty brave.
Yeah, I'm 14, and I've confronted him. I don't have a problem with confrontation, depending on what it is.
Wow. Okay. So now tell me about the experience you had when you were 14.
So from there, with that experience with my dad, I really started to develop self-esteem issues, and I just really wanted to be loved by someone or part of. And I had gone over to one of my friends, my best friend and another friend of ours. We're going to go over to like this house that had a bunch of adult men or boys, let's just say, living there, kind of like a frat house, I guess. And she went in, I went with her and she went into a bedroom by herself. And then there was this older guy there that, I don't know, he was probably in maybe 30 or 25 or 30. And I was a pretty innocent kid. I went to parochial school from kindergarten to 8th grade. And so I just didn't know what was out there. And so he's like, do you want to kiss? And I was like, I actually lied and told him I had a boyfriend. And he's like, come on, it's not going to hurt anything. And we proceeded to go into the bathroom and kiss. And it proceeded to being a forceful situation of that time of, losing the most precious thing that I could offer someone.
So an adult man took advantage of a 14-year-old.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's a massive tragedy in life.
It was another time again that I was obviously failing at keeping myself safe, but at the age of 14, I just don't know that I would have the bandwidth to even know to do that. But I will say that for many years, I felt like I had done something wrong. Like I was the problem, that I had created something that allowed him to do that to me. So
I think that's pretty common in that scenario. When girls get victimized, I think they do feel some personal responsibility.
Absolutely. Because if I didn't put myself there, if I didn't go to the house, if I,
didn't do all these things wrong in the first place, that wouldn't
have happened, So yeah, it was definitely, I was innocent. I didn't even know what really had happened until after I was talking to my girlfriend, and I'm a female, so I realized what had happened, but because it was uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. So
that's a unique way of putting that. So did you grow up in a household where God was talked about? Did you guys go to church? Did you have God in your family life, if you will? Did you grow up around it?
I grew up around believing in God. I grew up going to St. Simon and Jude, which it was more about having a God that, from my experience, not saying that this was what they were trying to do, but my experience, it was more of a Santa Claus God. It was more of God, if you didn't do this certain thing, then you were going to go to hell. If you had to perform to be loved. It wasn't about grace. It wasn't about a loving relationship with, your father or his son or anything like that. My mom had a different experience. She went to St. Simon and Jude as well. We were kind of like a generational family that went there. And
that's a Catholic school?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and she had an amazing relationship with God. I remember her saying the rosary a lot. And the rosary was very, very important to her. And she always had a connection with Christ, but I don't know that I realized that that's what it was.
It didn't really convey.
It didn't. And I don't know if I was too self-centered as a child or exactly what it was, because it wasn't like she didn't talk about God on purpose. But all these bad things kept happening. And if he is in charge of the world and everything that happens,
he can't be that great.
Then I must be really bad, or he must really hate me, and it just kind of correlated with my dad's experience of him using, and, so all of the what should be those authority figures or that godlike, image in your life, it was constantly just causing pain, with certain situations, but then it would be super great at times too. So it was very confusing because it was like, here, trust me, so it just really set me up in a good position to not trust my internal voice, my consciousness, I would say.
Or just really have an intimate relationship with God.
Correct. Because at that point I was done. Like I was starting to be done. I was just like doing my life, So did
you have a lot of friends? Were you dating people?
I had a core set of friends. I didn't have a lot. I was very active in volleyball. And then I really moved into going to nursing school in high school. And at that time, I ended up meeting a guy that gave me attention. He was older.
How much older?
I was 15 and like 7 months, I think. And he was 21, I think.
Okay. So he was a lot older.
Yeah. Yeah. And he looked older than 21, actually. He had a full-on beard and he definitely...
I can see 17 or 18 even, but 21.
No, yeah. No, he was full-on 21. And I don't even know what made my brain think that was okay, except for my life experience. Honestly, I felt very old as a young person because
You were 15. 15-year-olds do not have good judgment.
That's true.
No matter what their life is like, they don't have the best judgment. That's why they're protected. But anyways.
Yeah, that is true.
So tell me about that relationship.
He was kind of like the prince of, prince in shiny armor and really was very charismatic. Everybody really liked him a lot. He could pretty much, I remember people saying he could sell an igloo to an Eskimo. He was very, very, very charismatic, a really smooth talker.
Likeable.
Very likable, smooth talker, good sales guy, Smart. Yep. And seemed like he came from a good family at the very beginning when I started hanging around them.
Did you met his family?
Yeah, I met his family, I think probably within a month.
Oh, wow. So he felt comfortable as a 21-year-old man to bring a 15-year-old kid to his family.
Yes, he did.
That's just kind of red flag.
Didn't say anything either.
That's a red flag to me.
I agree. But at the time, it just, I couldn't see flags at all. Actually.
No, you're 15. So tell me a little bit about his family. What did you remember?
So I remember that they were very close, almost too close, kind of. They were very
like creepy close, or like just
like mafia close. Like,
oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like protect your secrets close.
Oh, okay.
Thing, Okay. And so, but at the time, at the beginning, it wasn't like that. They played games together. They had dinner together. They had cooked together. They all pitched in as a team together and did everything together. They kind of wanted to like have a compound at some point and have everybody live on the compound type mentality. And that was, of course, after I'd known them for a little bit, they shared that kind of stuff, but they had...
So that was appealing to you.
It was because it was a community. It felt a belonging.
You felt like you were accepted and liked and you had a role there.
Yep. Yeah,
okay, that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So how'd that relationship play out?
So when I think it was probably about 18, he asked me to marry him. There was a lot of red flags at the beginning, but I just didn't. He was very good at getting into my head, and I have a really big heart, and so he kind of played me like a puppet, I would say. He was very good at trying to convince me that my truth wasn't my truth, and there was a couple times I remember, at first it was really fun, exciting. I had this boyfriend, he was really my first boyfriend. And he got really upset.
He would gaslight you?
He would gaslight me all the time. And I remember the first time, like there was a couple of times that he gaslit me pretty good. But the first time that I really remember, we were driving on the freeway and there was someone that threw like a water bottle out my car. And then he followed him off the freeway, and him and his dad had gotten out of the car and had taken a bat, and it was a Porsche, and had like started beating the car violently with the bat. And I'd never seen that before. Like my parents, even though they had their dysfunction, they were not violent at all. They were like hippies, peace, love, smoking pot, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. And so
he and his dad did that.
So him and his dad.
While you were in the car.
Well, I was in a different car.
But you were with him.
But I was with him. And he's like, take off. And if anybody calls you, you didn't see me, and I'd never experienced anything like that before. And he was really minimized it. I mean, I saw him beat the crap out of this car, like really bad. I saw this huge violent. It was the first time I'd seen him like really violent. And so, it was just kind of like, okay, recording in the head of what he's capable of doing, and so.
It kind of normalized it, right? It kind of made it like, well, I mean, I guess sometimes you got to do that.
Yeah. And it was like, I'm protecting you because this guy threw a water bottle. They're not going to treat my girlfriend like that.
Oh, he made it about you.
Yeah.
Ooh, that is pretty slick.
Yeah.
That's pretty slick, Willie.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me about your marriage with him.
So at first it was great, probably like the first 6 months, at least what I told myself. There was many times that he was not respectful when I said no. We'll just leave it at that. And then probably about 6 months after being married to him, I was coming home from work and my cousin had called me and asked me to come over to her house. And she had informed me that he had sexually assaulted her at one point when she was at our house. And
But it was a while ago or at that point?
It was 6 months after we had been married.
Oh, man.
So I just married, had this huge Catholic wedding. I mean, not huge. It was 100 people, but.
That's still pretty big. Did you have kids yet?
No, we had no kids yet. And
did you believe her?
At first, a little. But there was a lot of like drama because my family had a lot of drugs and a lot of stories. It's the same cousin that I happened to be in the fire with too. So we were really close. We were like sisters. But I do know like her husband and my husband were both pretty dysfunctional. And there was just like how my brain ended up internalizing it was that she's very dramatic or her something's wrong with her because what she was saying was too hard to even comprehend. And I did go back to him though. And I like flipped out on him and I was like, what happened? Why would she say this?
So you confronted him.
I did confront him. And he's like, I would never do that. He started crying, telling me that he would never harm, anybody like that he was harmed as a child or had been forced in areas of his life. And he would never want anybody to ever feel that way.
So he got you back on board.
And so he did. He was just, and we would argue about it here and there, but then I also started to drink and carry on in that world of substance abuse stuff, and pretty much buried it. I became like an ostrich and then somewhat of a workaholic, and I was a nurse by this time and really focused on work.
Wow. So. Okay. That's tough to swallow, but I can see how you can. I like how you own it though. I like how these things are happening to you and you definitely are the victim of these things, but you do have like, you have personal responsibility for yourself. So you're not just all, I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, I've gone through a lot of therapy, and a lot of God's angels on this earth for me has appeared and helped carry me through to, different areas of my life. So
did you know God at that point yet?
No.
Okay. So you were still out there hanging
far
out
from God at that point. In fact, I just continued to get more angry, and to the point where I was like, forget you. I'm not praying anymore. I don't want to hear anything about God, even though I believe in God. And I would say, please, God, help us. But then I would be so mad. Like, I was very confused, and just really honestly hated God at that time.
That's unfortunately common.
Yeah.
So you obviously stayed married to him for a while.
I did. I stayed married for close to about 4 years because I got married in 95 and I got divorced. I filed for divorce, or got married in 94, filed divorce in 98.
Do you have kids with him?
I do. So
what age did you start that?
So I was 20 when I got pregnant. So yeah, I got pregnant probably, it was probably about 3 months after my cousin had told me that. I completely amputated my relationship with my cousin, which was extremely hard. She was like my sister. I probably cried for months every night I'd cry myself to sleep. I was very alone. Our family's pretty much divided. we were a very close family growing up.
That's exactly what the enemy wants.
And 100%, he completely got what he wanted at that time.
He was laughing right then, wasn't he?
He was thinking that he had some power over our family, but he was wrong.
So, tell me about what happened when you went to your grandmother's house to decorate for Christmas.
Yeah, so I had just found out that I was pregnant not soon after. I had gone to my grandma's house to put her Christmas lights up. So we were putting her Christmas lights up, and my cousin had come over with her husband, and I thought she was coming to apologize to me, like at this time, you know.
That makes sense because it's months later, and
yeah, and he had convinced me that it was not him. Like he truly had convinced me, you know. And so my cousin got out of the car, and she proceeded to say that he had harmed her kids in some really bad ways and was yelling at me about it. And I was like,
he beat them up, or
he had harmed them in the worst type of harm you could harm a child. So,
Ooh.
Yeah.
So she straight up accused your husband.
My husband of, you know, harming them in the most intimate, personal way that you could harm a child. And in front, you know, and the neighbors were out. And
so it was embarrassing on top of inflammatory.
Absolutely. But I mean, I don't blame her for that today, you know, but at the time I was like, what are you talking about? And I honestly didn't, some of the words that she was saying, I had no idea what she was saying. I had to look them up or ask people about what she was talking about, because they were just really horrible words, you know? And so, at that point, I left, and
needless to say, that made your relationship with her family even worse.
A lot worse.
Probably sealed it.
Yeah. It pretty much destroyed us 100%. I mean, she was like my older sister, and so it was devastating. It was devastating to my grandma, my grandma was my favorite human in the whole entire world, you know, and so just having the division and knowing what I know today too, and even back then, it was so heart-wrenching because I was pregnant for the first time, and the experience of being pregnant for the first time was completely taken from me.
Muddied because of
everything that had happened. Being able to enjoy it with your family. She was like my older sister, so being able to enjoy it with her was completely stolen from me at that time.
Well, I bet Satan was proud of himself.
I'm sure.
And that happened in front of your grandmother.
My grandma was in her room, but yes, I mean, she came in and told her, you know, my grandma was just a beautiful human. There was one thing, I saw a relationship with God with my grandma. My grandma, every single night, she would get on her knees, she would pray. She was just such a humble, loving, funny human being of who I wanted to be like when I grew up, you know? And I think, out of everything, like, she was so impacted by what happened.
He spreads his filth as wide as he can, doesn't he?
He did, and he's tried really hard to steal it from our family, you know, and he has not succeeded, but he thought he did for a while.
So, what did you do after that? Did your husband get you back on board? I mean, it sounds like he was a very charismatic man and knew how to cover his tracks. What happened next with after she confronted you? Like, what did you guys do?
Yeah, I mean, we went home. We got in some pretty big fights. I shut down, really started working a lot, really focused on being a mom, trying to get ready to have a baby.
So your baby was about to be born now.
So yeah, it was probably, let's see. I was probably about 3 months pregnant at that time. I was super sick when I was pregnant. I'm sure the stress didn't have anything, you know, had a lot to do with it, because I was barely just like making it, you know, and then he.
How many kids do you have with him?
I have 2.
You have 2. Okay. So
kids.
Basically you guys got back on track, kind of. We
got back on track. And then when I was about 9 months pregnant, 2 weeks into having my oldest daughter, I caught him pleasing himself over my 12-year-old sister's head in the middle of the night. I woke up to him doing that, and
while she was sleeping.
So you woke up and saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I pushed him outside, and at that moment knew everything that my cousin had said was true.
So alarm bells went off.
And I had I'm 20 years old too.
Oh, wow.
And I'm getting ready to have my first baby, and I've completely divided my family. So my pride and my ego is huge. I mean, pride, protecting us, protecting the lie, protecting everything was really the enemy working in my life at that time.
Yeah, you've been defending this guy.
And so what does that make about me? What does that mean about me? Because there's so many different perspectives within this 20-year-old self that's happening. One, she's getting ready to be a mom for the first time, of what she had this dream of what it's supposed to look like.
Sure.
And then the reality of what's happening, which we need to disassociate from that to survive, And then I just show up at work, and I'm a good nurse, at least what I thought I could be there. And I had some friends at work that were just beautiful people that really helped me. They had no idea what was going on in my home. I'm a very, very good liar too. At that time, nobody had a clue how devastating my home was.
Plus, you probably felt complicit because you've been protecting this guy. He's your husband.
Correct.
And you believed his gaslighting.
Correct.
So now you feel complicit.
Yep.
Just like you did when you were 14 and you went to that room, that house after you broke all those rules, and now you feel like this is,
again,
you're in on it.
I have a part, and I have to keep a secret, not safe, because I was sick inside at the same time. So it was like,
and you didn't really believe this was happening, right?
I didn't. I couldn't fathom, it's too big to fathom that this could be happening, So, and then I ended up having my daughter, and I became like a crazy psycho mom. I put baby monitors throughout my house. I thought that I could keep her protected, and pretty much had some nervous breakdowns. As much as you could hold yourself together, was still trying to work or have a baby. I think she was probably about 3 months old, and I ended up saying that we were going to leave, and I packed our stuff up, and he started to threaten me, and it told me that if I leave, that he would get her birth certificate. And I'd seen him harm people. I'd seen what his family, they were like scammers. So I'd seen I said they were kind of like the mafia,
Right.
Pretty much they lived by this. If you are as safe as your secrets. Like if you tell, you're the only person that can get you in trouble. It's not that you did the situation wrong. It's that you told someone that you did it, So, and I just saw with my own eyes what he was capable of doing. And so
It must have been terrifying at your age.
Yeah, at this point I was like, there's nothing I can do. I felt extremely powerless. So I figured if I could stay there as a mom and keep my daughter safe as much as I possibly could.
And she's your only child with him at this point?
Correct.
So he obviously won you back over somehow.
Well, he went and took a lie detector test. We found a lie.
So
I made him go. We started going to counseling. We actually went to a priest, and told him everything that had happened. My daughter was probably about 4 months old at this time. And he suggested he could go take a lie detector test, or I did. I don't even know where I got that. I did it. He passed it.
Wow, that is
pretty
high level.
He's a sociopath. Like today I know that, but at the time, you remember like the questions that he asked though. It was like, on November 16th, did you do this to this person? And it wasn't even the kid that was the part of the story. He probably was telling the truth about what possibly happened at that moment, because it wasn't the same details of what may have really happened. Is the only way I can justify him getting away with.
Somehow he passed.
I don't know.
He knew how to
I'm
control
not a
his
sociopath, so I have no idea.
That's crazy. So did it ever catch up with him? Did he ever go to jail for any of his actions, for anything? Obviously, you had another kid with him. Right?
Yeah, I had another child. I really got into doing drinking and carrying on with substance abuse pretty heavily.
So you didn't have Jesus in your life, so you were like, well, I'm going to start drinking.
Yeah. That was the power that I had. And honestly, if it weren't for drugs and alcohol at that time, I don't know that I would have been able to live. I'm, just being honest with you, because it was too hard. Every time I would start to try to get sober at that time, the mind would just start coming to. I would start coming to, and it was too painful. So, and that's how I dealt with it. I didn't go to church at that time. I didn't seek out a relationship with God, thinking that
nowhere to go.
I wasn't going to go to something that I felt was in charge of all of this at the time.
Ignoring you.
Ignoring all of my prayers to keep us safe. God was unsafe for me at that time, and so, and my ex-husband had ended up stealing money from a bank that he worked for.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I had a good picker. So he stole money from a bank and ended up getting caught. And I now know this was started to be my divine intervention. God is like, we're going to do an intervention on this girlfriend. We got some work to do because she's one of my soldiers, And so he ended up going to jail, and
so he got caught. He was embezzlement kind of thing.
Kind of. I mean, he worked for a vault at Wells Fargo vault.
He didn't rob a bank, though.
No, where big businesses would deposit money. So he would go in the bathroom, take the deposit, put it in a 44-ounce cup, and thought that he was going to get away with it.
Was he doing it for a while, or did he do it once and get caught?
No, he probably did it 4 times, I think, with him and his buddy. Yeah.
So he went to jail.
He went to jail. And honestly, now, the brainwashing, because he was always on me. He was very, very controlling. He was very in my ear all the time, causing me to doubt my reality, gaslighting me all the time. And so now he's gone, and I end up becoming friends with some of our mutual friends. And I end up being honest with her about what had happened. And it was the first time that I was ever honest with anybody, because I had kept this secret for 4 years inside of my soul without telling anybody.
You said these words out loud.
I said them out loud, which means that it was the beginning of me starting to accept the truth of what had really happened. Even though I had accepted it when I saw him, that when I was 20, I went into the bathtub and rocked myself for 6 hours. And because I knew at that moment, my marriage and my life was over. That was probably the worst day of my life.
So once the manipulation stopped in your ear all the time, you started to come to.
Yes.
Or you could say God started to
give me clarity.
He started to speak to you a little.
Yeah, started to speak to me, and we ended up going on this self-will run riot trip to California, and we were on.
You and your kids?
No, I ended up leaving my kids with my parents. My parents think at this point that I am kind of losing it, and I want to get a divorce because he's smoking weed and he stole money. So I don't.
They don't know the truth about it.
They have no idea what's going on.
They know the accusations that were made, but they don't know the truth.
They don't know the truth.
They're believing and you said it didn't happen.
That's correct.
Okay, so you go to California. What happens in California?
So I go to California, and my girlfriend and I are on the beach, and there was this older man that was very fit, and he had really pretty blue eyes, and he was doing crunches on the beach and really was, just healthy. And she had looked at me and she's like, I dare you to go ask him how old he is, because we're trying to, we're betting how old he is. So I go up and I ask him, sir, what's your age? We just wanted, and he's like, why do you ask? And when he talked to me, it was he had this look in his eye of genuine concern. And I felt like he was looking through my soul. It was the weirdest experience. And he just asked me why do you ask? And I don't even really remember what I said, except for we were just, wondering because you're pretty fit, and you're doing these sit-ups. And then next thing you know, he gets up and he walks into the ocean and just starts swimming. And we watched him for a long time, and he swam out and never came back. I mean, I don't know where he went, but
he just disappeared.
He just disappeared into the ocean. So, and at that time I had a couple drinks at that time, but we were just, hanging out at the beach and having fun. And she's like, why don't you give it to God? And I was like,
so she had a relationship with God.
She did. She definitely believed in God and had a relationship with God. And she's like, why don't you, give it to God, ask God to guide you or something like that. And I felt like I had been.
She brought him up.
Yeah, she did.
She brought God up.
Yep. And I felt like I had prayed, like I said, all this time. I'm like, fine. What do I have to lose at this point? So I went out into the ocean, and, I grew up on the ocean because my grandma lived in Marina Del Rey. And so I would go to Santa Monica Pier all the time and go out at the beach. I loved the ocean. The ocean was my peaceful place. That's my sacred place, and I put my arms up and I'm, saying, I give it to you, God. And I'm yelling at him, and I was like, guide me. What am I supposed to do? And like,
so you gave up your whole hate for God and decided to ask him and give it to him.
yeah, I did. But I was also like angry, yelling at him at the same time, like, fine, show me what I'm supposed to do, like this indignant kid.
But you came to him.
I absolutely did. With my heart, I wanted him to guide me because I did not know how to get the power to leave. I was so powerless. So powerless.
I can see that after that long of being manipulated by someone. So what happened next?
So I had my arms up and like this wave came out of nowhere and like took me under, and I did like a flip in the ocean, which I'd never experienced before. And like my wedding rings went off into the ocean with a class ring that I had made just like his. We had, matching class rings, and I like stood up and I was like, okay, I'm supposed to get a divorce. Like the Holy Spirit washed through my soul. Like I felt the presence of God so strong. I'd never felt it like that before. And I got up and I was like, all right, I gotta get a divorce. Like, I know this is what I'm supposed to do.
You knew it.
I did. Like, there was no doubt. Like discernment, I got the gift of discernment that day. And a faith that I have no idea how this is going to work out. I don't know how I'm going to take care of 2 small kids by myself. I don't know how I'm going to stay alive because I was worried that he was going to hurt us or kidnap them.
Did you ask God what to do with this guy, and what he knocked your wedding ring off your finger?
Took my wedding ring, all of it. It was gone. You
couldn't find it.
And I'm like, I've told this story, quite a few times. I do some spiritual work with women and stuff. And when you pray from your heart, he's going to show you. Like, I believe that because I've experienced it.
I believe that without a doubt, especially when you yell.
Yes. And you're saying it from your, like the depths of your heart. There's a different type of prayer, there's a different type of communication with God. When your soul is begging for help.
Words are powerful.
And so
you got your answer.
So I got my answer. I came back home. I told my parents the truth.
At this point, you knew the truth about everything.
Yes. I accepted the truth. It wasn't a doubt anymore,
Wow.
And so we moved him out, and I got like a little studio apartment for him and moved all of his stuff. And while he was still in like work, he was doing the Joe Arpaio work furlough program.
Halfway house thing.
Yeah. And so he went into this like house, and that was like the beginning. I didn't talk to him as, hardly at all, except for about divorce stuff. I did try to manipulate him to sign the divorce papers. He said he wasn't going to sign. And so I did some stuff with him to get him to sign, and then he still didn't sign, and hired this huge attorney. Really, really good attorney, because he believed he did nothing wrong. But, then it came out that he did harm my daughter at the same time.
Oh.
Like probably about a month later, she came out and shared some stuff with my mom, and, CPS got involved, and that took on, and I was in fear that might have happened, because I remember when she was like 18 months old, there was a change in her little soul. And I saw something different in her. And that's like really at the beginning, like that's the beginning of the end, is when I saw that with her. And it just kept getting worse and worse and worse, until God gave me that discernment, and I
showed up and told you, get him out.
Yep.
Get him out.
I did grow up Catholic too, and divorce was a sin in my mind, and
it's hard to, when God tells you straight up to do something, it's, and you feel that whole.
Yeah, I was like, okay, you got it. I'm going, we're going to do this, and I'm like, I'm going to trust you, because I don't know how it's going to work, but I'm trusting, I got trust that day.
All of a sudden, you went from hating God to like, all right, I'm going to do what you said.
I'm going to listen.
It's hard to ignore that, isn't it?
Yeah. That was really evident, So, and I did, like I said, I came back, we got an attorney, filed for divorce. It took a couple of years for us to get divorced. The courts, it's amazing. The courts, there has to be really good evidence for stuff.
Yeah.
Just a child saying something doesn't necessarily.
No, but basically you got him out of your life. So did you start to walk with the Lord right then? Did that begin it, or? Did you wrestle?
I wrestled. I really thought that if God moved him out of his, like took him out of my life, because I did pray for that. Now he's out of my life. Now, at this time, I was not ready to have accountability for the actions from my role within mine and my relationship with God.
So you were still in the God is my genie phase.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long did that take before you actually?
It was probably close to about a year.
It's actually pretty quick.
Is it? It was a very long year. I went through a lot of other stuff that I put myself in some situations, but I ended up, getting. What are you,
24 at this point?
I'm 24. Yeah.
So you spent 23, 24 years not interested in him,
mm-hmm.
but in 1 year, he pulls you back?
Yes. Yeah. I hit a bottom to where I realized that I was the problem,
So when you did start actually having a relationship with God, what was that like? How did that happen? How did that progress? Did you start going to church, start reading your Bible?
Honestly, I actually got into recovery. That's what happened.
Okay.
So I met someone that was in recovery and introduced me to recovery. I became powerless over his drinking. And so I started going to Al-Anon.
Okay.
And through Al-Anon, I used to go to Al-Anon meetings loaded. I'm not proud of it, but it's something that I did. Really did not want to let go of my best friend because my best friend got me through a lot of life. But at the same time, it was
best friend being
alcohol and substances. And so, and then God just started working on me. He just started putting people in my life and situations in my life where I was finally surrendered to the fact that I was failing utterly, because I was like on another round of failure with a man in my life again. And got to a point like the alcohol and the substances weren't working anymore. And I figured that driving off South Mountain, honestly, with me and my kids in the car was the only solution. That was really where...
So it got dark again.
It got real dark. Yeah. I don't know that it got light at that point when I was getting a divorce, and, God did come in. I remember he came in for a small period of time. I went to my cousin that had said that he had assaulted her, and I went to her house and showed up with my mom.
But now you're coming to apologize.
And I'm coming to apologize to her, and just to...
How did she take that?
Honestly, miraculously.
Of course.
She opened the door, and I love this woman so much. She's just the most amazing human.
Does she know God?
She does.
Did she then?
No, yeah, she did, because she said she'd been praying for me. That was what she said. I was so scared that she would yell at me, because I deserved to be yelled at. I deserved for her not to even communicate with me because of what I had done and the lies that I had told, to protect myself and him.
But you got grace instead.
And I 100% got unearned grace from her.
That's what grace is.
Yeah, and she opened the door and said, I've been praying for you.
She knew. Right when you got there.
Yeah. She's like, I'm so sorry. She had been praying that we didn't get hurt. And
because she knew the truth the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh. So you're married now. How'd that happen?
Well, fast forward, I think I was, in recovery for probably about 3 or 4 years, really just developing a relationship with myself, had another little one. So I have 3 biological children. Which is another, story, but another God story. But I ended up really developing a relationship with God, getting strong as a parent by myself, really healing, working with God to heal mine and my children's relationship. And then I met someone that was in, recovery as well. And we started, just as friends, communicating. And my kids my daughter was 18 months, I think, at the time that we started to just become friends. He had been recently out of a divorce, and I was like, you need to heal, but he had a very, very soft-spoken heart. And for some reason, I was not interested in anything to do with men, honestly.
For some reason?
For some reason.
I can come up with a couple, and I barely know you.
Yeah, I really did not ever think that I would even trust anyone to even develop a friendship with, but God put some safe people in my life at that time. And we started just to become friends. And I would hear how he spoke about like even his ex-wife and his son and how he showed up in his life. He was just
Did he know God?
He did.
Okay.
He did know
So by
God.
the time you met him, he already had a relationship with God.
He did.
Okay.
Yeah, he had a good relationship with God and was very active in, the 12-step community, and the church was our very first date. I had told him I just want to be friends for a while. I really
Your
wanted
first date was
to-
at church?
Mhm.
That's a good start.
It is a good start. It is. We really took it slow too. I just told him I wanted to get to know each other first, which that had never happened. I was trying to do it God's way, not Jessica's way, because before my relationship or careers had always failed because I had done it my way.
I find that that's the hardest part, the God's way, not Dave's way.
Oh yeah.
That was the most difficult.
Very
thing for me.
painful too, because my way is driven by a lot of fear and not trusting God. So this was like the first time in my relationship life that I was like, all right, God, I'm going to trust you. And I'm going to tell this guy, his dad really liked me. I liked his parents too. And because I had met them through some recovery, his parents were in recovery too. And so he really liked me and bought us like Bruce Springsteen tickets. And I really liked Bruce Springsteen, but my, husband today had asked me to go on, and I was like, no, we're just in friend zone still. Like, I don't trust myself with my will to do it different. So we're just going to stay and go to coffee houses with people.
How long did you guys date?
We dated, we were friends for almost close to a year, 7 to 8 months, maybe a year.
Okay. That's a pretty slow roll.
Yeah. And then we ended up, started dating for probably about 4 or 5, maybe 6 months ish. And then we ended up, making a commitment to each other and moved in together. Financially, I was really struggling. I also started to go back to school, nursing school, to get my RN because I was an LPN at the time. And so, and he took on 3 kids that were biologically not his, that had a lot of trauma, truthfully.
Yeah.
And he was very, very patient and kind and loving, not perfect by any means. We're human beings, and he definitely continues to need to have work through his life. And today still we work on each other,
So how long before you popped the question?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah, we were, so when he had gotten divorced, kind of a fun story, he had, a miraculous story, honestly, because I had prayed for a long time and asking God if this was who I was supposed to marry. And I just knew in my heart, like, God placed me in this man's life for a reason, like to be his wife. Like, I knew it in my soul, because I trusted him, and I had never trusted anybody,
especially a man,
since all the stuff that had happened, And so it was funny because I was just praying right before we really started dating. I was just praying and asking God. And I was talking to my grandma, I was like, what do you think about him? And she's like, well, what's my favorite color? And I was like, Kelly green. And my husband's name's Kelly. Ugh. And I was like, oh, you like him? It was like a perfect experience. It was just an amazing experience that God knew that I needed tangible stuff in order to continue to build my life,
God can be very tender with you, can't he?
He is. I'm so beyond blessed and great. I'm graced, honestly. Like, his power, he's my best friend. And he saved me. Like, I learned who the Holy Spirit was through that day when the ocean took my rings away. But then I started to develop a personal relationship with him. That's where I was scared to death, and I would just say, God, please hold me. I need you to hold me. And like, I need to feel you in my soul, please. And I swear I would feel his arms like wrap around me and just like create an essence of love and security inside my soul. And I was like becoming a whole person. And I had done some therapy. I'm all for therapy, but I think that my relationship with God is what like brought that healing.
There's nothing like it.
There's nothing like that. And then it's different people's stories. And I'm a pretty deep person. I'm not really good at being surfacey, as you've learned probably just having a couple conversations with me.
So tell me about the proposal.
So when my husband got divorced, he threw his ring into the ocean. He didn't know that my rings, he never knew that story about me, about my rings, the ocean taking my rings away. So fast forward 4 years, we were going scuba diving with my oldest daughter, and he had taken a little pad and wrote out, "Will you marry me?" on the pad with black sticky letters with a yes box and a no box. And so we were swimming for the first time with my daughter. She was 10. She was getting scuba certified, and he had this planned out for months, maybe even a year. I don't know how long, but a long time, because she had to go through certification school and everything. And so we're swimming. We're probably about 30 feet underwater, and he had taken out this patty board, is what it's called, and he handed it to me and handed me the pencil. And like at this time, we'd been together for 4 years. I knew I was supposed to be his wife, but he was taking a sweet time on asking me to marry him, And so I was completely shocked. I had no idea.
So he proposed to you in the very ocean
that God
took your old rings.
Yes. So he brought him back, and he brought his ring back too, because I said yes.
God just put his signature right on it.
He did.
And how long have you guys been married?
We have been married 18 years.
Wow.
18 years. Yeah. And one of the things I remember praying and just like meditating, and I remember seeing like, we're individuals and we all have like a suitcase of baggage in our life, right?
Sure.
Certain relationships helps you put more baggage in your luggage, right? And I had this this meditation, and all of a sudden I saw Kelly and I sitting down, and we opened up and we were like looking at our luggage together and saying, "Do you think I need this anymore? No, let's get rid of that. You don't need to protect yourself like that anymore." Same thing for him. He had his wounds too. And, God partners up people when you really, truly give your will over to him. At least my experience, when he partners you up with people that he's going to help heal your soul with each other, and I really believe that that's what marriage is about supporting each other, being our best selves.
An equal yoke.
Yep. An equal. Absolutely. Absolutely. So even if one of us is off at times, because 18 years, we've had a lot of life in 18 years. I mean, right. God has continued to show lots of miracles. I mean, this is one small miracle, a big miracle in my life, but through my marriage, I mean, I truly believe that God brought me into my husband's life to continue his relationship with God as well, and mine as well with him.
So just like the story, God prepared you for your life with him.
Absolutely.
That's a beautiful story. Jessica, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah.
It's been very moving. I got to be honest with you. Your story has really moved me. Every time I've told a couple people before you came in the studio here, and I told them the story, and honestly, I get choked up every single time I talk about it, because when the Holy Spirit moves, that's a really intense love connection, and you know it when it's him. Yeah. You know it when it's him. So God bless you.
Thank you so much. He does.
And thank you for coming on.
Thank you for doing this for people and bringing them hope.
Well, I think it's God.
Yeah. Through you. But yes, I understand.
All the praise goes to God.
I'm just a vessel. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I understand.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Hey there, and thanks for listening. If you're enjoying this story, be sure to hit that like, follow, or subscribe button so you can hear other amazing stories from other ordinary people, sharing how God has revealed his power, grace, and love in their everyday lives. If you know anyone who needs to hear this story, don't hesitate to share it. It could make all the difference.